In this video, I want to show you Sauta Cave. But first, I would like to say a little bit about the caves that occur in this area, in this county, and also give you a little bit of history about Sauta Cave. Jackson County, Alabama has, I think, the highest population of natural occurring limestone caves as anywhere in the world, anywhere on earth. There are hundreds of caves located in this county. Some are very small with very small openings. Some are very large with huge underground rooms. I'd like to start off by showing you Sauta Cave in this video. Next, I'd like to show you Cathedral Caverns, which is also in this area, and a very huge, beautiful cave. And then finally, I'd like to show you Russell Cave, which is in the northeastern part of the county, which is very historic. But first, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Sauta Cave. This part of Alabama was settled. Well, it was really settled before it was the state of Alabama in the early 1800s. Settlers began to come into this area while it was still Cherokee lands, and settled in and around the lakes and the rivers here. And those first settlers here had very few facilities. They came in and built their log cabins, but had very few other facilities. One of the very first uses of Sauta Cave in this area was as a local courtroom. They actually had seats and desk set up in one of the outer rooms of this cave, and for a while held court inside the cave. The first county seat was nearby to Sauta Cave, a small native town called Sauta, and that town now is under the backwaters of Guntersville Lake. Later on this video, I'll show you a shot of how near this cave is to the lake. Later on, during the war between the states, this cave was used to remove saltpeter, which is an element in the making of gunpowder. So it was, I guess you would say, mined at that time, and a fairly big operation to remove saltpeter from the cave. And also, somewhere along in its history, the cave was used for a source of guana. You may not have heard that word before, but guana is another word, pleasant word, for bat droppings or bat manure. It's a very, very rich fertilizer. It's been said too that back in the early days before air conditioning, that local residents would come to Sauta Cave and use it as a sort of a resort. The temperature inside Sauta Cave remains at about 62 degrees year-round, winter or summer. So it was very cool in the summer, and it was fairly warm in the wintertime. A good place to go when you didn't have central air conditioning. And some of these visits, they would bring torches and set up in the larger rooms of the cave, and they would have dances and community gatherings here in Sauta Cave. You notice on the graphic that the Sauta Cave is now a national wildlife refuge, and that is because of the rich wildlife in this area being close to the river. But the primary reason is because Sauta Cave during the summertime is one of the few remaining habitats or nesting caves for the endangered gray bat. And I'll show you a little bit later on in the video about the gray bat. During the summer months, there are hundreds of thousands of gray bats live in this cave, and they sleep during the daytime, but every evening you can come to the cave and watch hundreds of thousands of these bats fly out of the mouth of the cave, going out at night to feed on insects, mosquitoes. And then in the morning, in the dusk of the morning, you can be there and see those hundreds of thousands of gray bats fly back into the cave, and it's quite a sight to see. During those months, a lot of spectators and tourists come to the cave to watch the exit and entry of the gray bat. You're looking here at the mouth of the cave, and as I pan up, you'll see the bluff that goes up above the cave. The bluff goes up maybe about 50 feet. The cave's about 30 feet wide and about 20 feet high there in the mouth. And if you'll notice, there's a small stream that runs out of the cave. This cave is known also as a Blowin Cave. You can be, at certain times of the year, depending on the conditions, you can be a good 50-75 yards out from the cave and still feel the cool breeze coming out from the mouth of the cave. On the left there, you'll see some ivy that's growing down the bluff and out over the rocks. And this is a view of the small stream, the spring that washes out of the cave, the mouth of the cave, and goes on down to the North Sauta Creek, backwater lake of the Tennessee River, which is only about a quarter of a mile from the mouth of the cave down to the river, or down to the lake. Here again, some wooded areas up above the cave. And a shot here again of the bluff. You'll see the woods growing up above the bluff there, and I pan down and you'll see again the mouth of the cave. You'll notice off to the right there some metalwork, some bars, and that is for protection of the gray bats. One of the reasons the gray bat is endangered is because of human intervention, spelunkers. So the bars keep cave explorers and curiosity seekers out of the cave. This is actually standing back into the mouth of the cave, looking out into the scenery. And as I pan down, you'll see that small spring or creek again. And you can't see it, but on the ground here around this area, like I said earlier, the bats have been here all winter, and the ground is just covered with bat droppings there at the entrance. Here's a real good view that shows that ivy growing off to the left, and I'm not certain that's a native plant. Here's a placard that's out front. It shows some of the bats hanging to the ceiling, and there's a good illustration of what a gray bat looks like. Here's a photo showing the gray bats hanging from the roof of the caves. These little critters only weigh about ½ of an ounce. And this is a map of their coverage area, very limited in the southeastern United States. And I promised to show you how close the cave was to the river. This is Robert E. Lee Highway, and it's just about a quarter mile from the mouth of the cave down to this part of the lake.